By the end of this video, you will know who's going to win between Islam versus JDM. Now, when I was making this video, guys, I'll be real. Like, I went through a lot of emotions because I was starting to think some stuff, assess some stuff. I'm doing an in-detail stylistic breakdown where I talk about both guys' strengths and both guys' weaknesses. And I really get into the grit of it, guys. And we're going to really figure out together as a team. At the end of this video, I'm going to have my opinion. Maybe my opinion changes. Who knows, you know? Who knows? Because my opinion can very much change at this video after reading what I'm saying out loud. But nonetheless, you will know and I will know who's going to win at UFC 322 by the end of this. And I'm not kidding you, but are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I leave enemy stretch in the enemy death. No energy left. Knock his noodles, reenact John Kennedy death. When I take his life from him like identity theft. Like, when I take his life. Yo, stop playing. Here's my thing, guys. This video, if it doesn't convince you, brother, I'll retire. But let's just get into it, bro. No more stalling. No more looking at JDM's beautiful crooked nose. A little bit crooked. Looks crooked in a good way. Let's actually assess this stylistic breakdown. First of all, let's start about the striking pros and cons for both guys. Starting with Jack Della Maddalena. Striking pros. This is something after watching his film that I know he just does great in every aspect of fighting when it comes to striking. He has great chain combos. Like, JDM has a thing where he gets into a rhythm. He's a really good rhythm fighter. And when he gets into a rhythm, it's probably the scariest thing ever. I'm not even trying to glaze. Brother, when it gets to the rhythm, you see that little bit crooked nose come after you with this little boom, 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 boom. He go body, body, head. I like the way he invests in the body. He does it like in a really good way that it's like almost low key. You don't really see it coming. And then like he chains together his body combos with some headshots to finish off his combos. And I feel like he just does it really well. Not only great chain combos, but he also has a tricky low kick. Now, I feel like people don't actually realize how much he actually uses that low kick to draw out some attacks and just like use it to like kind of set the pace. Like, he doesn't always come out with a heavy boxing approach. He might high guard you, but throw a lot of heavy low kicks. And the low kicks are like off-putting because it doesn't necessarily look like he's torquing so much into it, but it looks so thudding. Like, when JDM lands his low kicks, it's like a thudding low kick. And this could be a problematic thing for someone like Islam Makhachev, who sometimes is a little bit heavier on that front leg. Thirdly, this is what I think he does the best. Ring generalship is peak. Now, I'm saying ring generalship. It's not just taking the center of the ring. It's understanding when to give and take. So he'll know when to back you down, like pack you up, you know, like he's in the post with you, backing you up, backing you down, and has you respecting him. But he also knows when to get off the front foot, like, and avoid danger, and like be a good kind of picking his shots and picking his angles. Like, he'll back you up and then like put it on you, and then he'll make you chase him. And while you're chasing him, he does a really good job cutting angles and moving and like landing a clean straight down the pipe. And he's just really accurate, bro. His ring generalship in general is just really good, and I feel like he does it better than most people, which actually makes his striking to me be one of the best. Like, his striking is so good because his ring generalship and his understanding and his fight IQ in that realm is very impressive. And last but not least, that's a solid guard with good head movement. He's always keeping his hands are always in the right places, I feel like, as well as the fact that he moves his head good. He's not like, even when he doesn't have a high guard in and like he's kind of trading with someone, he always has a good understanding of like when to like slip punches and rip. And I feel like his head movement is arguably one of the best things about him that makes him pick his shots so well, because he just barely avoids danger and he returns with his straight punches. His striking pros, he's actually one of the best strikers in the UFC. I have to give him credit for that. But let's talk about the cons now, because we established the pros. Yes, brother, you could strike, brother, but what the little bit cons that maybe Islam could look out for. Here's what I got from his cons. Not much, but his combos open up takedown entries. I'm saying this because when JDM does initiate sometimes, because his combos usually initiate when he's on the front foot, he's very wide in his punches. Like, he kind of opens up, which also leaves him opening to counters. But mostly, like, opening up this wide when you're throwing like your big hooks, it just opens up the takedown. The takedown's just there for the taking. It's like he's asking to get taken down. But a lot of people don't really have like the IQ to shoot when he is initiating these combos, and they kind of just stand and try to roll with the punches, which usually leads to people getting pieced up against the fence. So that's why you see a lot of times where JDM kind of just like has his little flowy combo, and like they're kind of just shelling up and like taking the combo. And JDM's really good at like just landing perfectly right under the elbow. If you're tucking your elbow, then he like hits you in the face. He's really accurate with his punches. So if you're gonna just try to shell up, you're still gonna get hit. He's going to find ways to go through your defense and land on you because his accuracy is really good. So to defend that, you're probably going to need to shoot takedowns. But a lot of people JDM went against aren't really good at timing takedowns when someone is on the offensive foot. Islam might be a little bit different. So I will say that the combos do open up takedown entries for Islam Makhachev. Secondly, he always has to get his get back. I'm not going to call him an ego striker, but I've noticed, especially watching the Bilal fight, when Bilal will land some like a good combo in his face, he always wants his get back, which is not the smartest thing because it puts you in harm's way. Like just like I said in the first point for takedowns, but as well as just getting counterpunched too. And I really think Islam Makhachev, guys, is pretty smart with his counterpunching. We're going to talk about that in the next slide, but I just feel like the only two cons that I can really get from JDM in this fight is that his combos do open up takedown entries, and he's also, his stubbornness of always wanting to get his get back is not going to be smart to do against someone with really good fight IQ with Islam Makhachev. Now that we established his pros and cons in the striking, let's look at Islam's pros and cons. Starting with the pros. He doesn't take risks. He makes his opponent do more. When I say this, look at the Volk fight. Islam is like weirdly like he doesn't like taking risks in a good way. To a point where him not taking risks actually makes his opponents feel the urge to like have some momentum, so they try to go first. But usually when this happens, it leads to situations like, I swear, look at the Volk 1 fight. People are gonna know what I'm saying without me even showing you the clip. When Volk was trying to like go first because he saw Islam was like being so safe, it'll leave Volk out of position, and Islam's really good at like leaning back and doing a counter punch. Like he'd do a pull counter. He like bait you in, lean back, pull counter, like he fucking pull counter Volk. And then you're gonna remember that clip of Volk getting hit and like bobbling backwards because Islam's good at like not taking risk, frustrating, and making his opponents do more. Even Volk in the post fight, he was say how frustrated he was. He was like, Islam is like, he's just a tricky striker. He doesn't really take risks, so it makes the opposition more likely to take risks. And I will say Volk's a lot faster. So even Volk, who's really fast, like would like do his 3-4 punch combos, and he would just come off the target, and then Islam would counter Volk and send Volk flying backwards. It shows that Islam's not only like he's very aware how quick his opponents are, and he's very good in particular with his shot selection. So I think him not taking risks and making his opponents do more is going to lead to JDM, I feel like, in the long run, trying to do more, which is actually going to lead to him being in more trouble than he really is. Maybe than he really even thinks he's going to be. Next, I want to say slick head movement. Dustin Poirier fight specifically. Islam's so hard to hit clean. Even when like Dustin and Islam would be standing in the center trading, Islam was not getting hit clean ever. Dustin would do like a 1-1-2, but Islam would just duck, and roll. I think this happens because he trains with Chanko so much, because his ability to roll punches, it almost surprises me when I'm actually watching film. I'm like, damn, Islam's actually just, you can't hit Islam clean. Like, brother, he's ducking, leaving. His body physique a little good when he's doing. So I ain't trying to glaze. Like, his boxing and his head movement is really good. Also said counter boxing high level. Like I said, the Volk fight. Look back at the Volk fight. Look at the Dustin fight. His counter boxing is just really sharp. I feel like it's a lot sharper than a lot of people think. And I feel like we're actually going to see a lot of that in display in the fight against Jack Della Maddalena. And then I also said the underrated kicking game. Islam doesn't throw much low kicks, but he would throw some mean body kicks that I feel like people don't really pay attention to, as well as his head kick. His head kick, we saw it the best against Volkanovski, of course, because it knocked out Volk, but his shot selection and timing of his head kick, as well as how fast he throws that head kick. Dude, Islam's kicking speed is getting faster. Dude, I think it's Chanko, I think it's Chanko that's making him look so like sharp and quick in some of his kicking. Because like his kicking been elevating. I've noticed that. It's like he's getting better the more I see him in his kicking. I'm looking forward to see how much he kicks against JDM and how much it actually helps him out in this fight. And lastly, I'm saying the clinch striking in close proximity. Islam's a type of fighter where he is going to throw weird knees up the middle in the clinch. Like if you get too close to Islam, like some people would panic. Like most wrestlers or like people who aren't that good at striking, they panic. What Islam does is like he does something really good where he grabs your head, lowers it, and then throws a knee, or like he'll knee you and push you back with the clinch. He uses the clinch really well. So JDM, who's really scrappy, he's got to be careful if he closes the distance against Islam and leads to a car crash, because instead of like a car crash and Islam like backing up, he's gonna take the car crash, he's gonna grab you, he's gonna throw some tie clinches, and maybe even use some wrestling off of those clinch strikes. So watch out for Islam's clinch striking, which I feel like is one of the most underrated weapons that we're not really talking about in terms of the striking. Now that we talk about the pros, though, we gotta go into the cons. Islam does have a couple cons in his striking. I know, brother, he struck with the best, but he still has cons. First con, linear backwards motion at times. I hate this when Islam. A lot of people do this, and it's like a really bad thing to do, especially against chain boxers like Jack Della Maddalena. So I will say this is a con that JDM can actually exploit. It's a linear backwards motion that Islam does when he sometimes just leans back and like throws that hook, because it gets predictable, and the people who have good boxing IQ will pick up on that and chain together a better combo so he can make sure he lands on Islam by the end of his punch. When Volk did this, or Volk tried to do this, sometimes it will work, but sometimes it will lead to Volk missing but almost catching him. Like a clip I always see is that when Islam like kind of when Volk kind of backed Islam against the fence and Islam kind of like fell to his knees, he didn't get dropped, but you can see Volk like understood that he needs to like add more to his combo. Even though Islam barely missed that, like he barely got out the way, it still showed that hole that like someone with better accuracy was gonna land that. Like, and Islam kind of understood that he was kind of screwed there, so he kind of like dropped to that knee and went for like the double leg. But he was really in trouble in that place because Volk was starting to understand the timing of him. And then secondly, I said the funky footwork puts him out of position. Brother, I don't know, brother. Sometimes Islam's footwork, brother, I'm like, sheebai, brother. Like he's trying to move and like Volk said, his hands and his eyes move well, but his feet don't really follow properly. I really agree with that statement by Volk. Because like sometimes when Islam's throwing guys, I'm like, his footwork, dude. And people always bring up his striking looks so bad in Moicano fight. Honestly, what made it look worse to me, like what made it look worse is that you could tell that Islam was trying to go first because he didn't respect Moicano. But when Islam leads, his striking looks worse. I think Islam's the best when he's like patient, like how he usually does, and baits people into coming forward. That's when he looks the best, because when he tries to lead, sometimes his funky footwork just puts him out of position, and some good boxer can exploit that. So what can I gauge from having both of these striking pros and cons for both fighters? This is my assessment. Without wrestling, this is just looking at striking. JDM will likely initiate more and Islam will counter more. I'm saying this because I know it's going to be kind of a tit-for-tat fight as long as stands on the feet. I do think, like I said, it could favor Islam. This is going to shock a lot of people. But the point I was bringing up, like when I said Islam doesn't literally, like he doesn't take risk. He doesn't put himself out of position to like get caught by a lot of shots, which I feel like is going to frustrate Jack Della Maddalena and lead to Jack Della Maddalena taking a lot more risks, but ended up getting caught by the end of a counter punch by Islam Makhachev. I can actually see Jack Della Maddalena getting frustrated and like even like optically like being like, oh come on bro, like why are you not trying to engage with me? So that low-key might be a hot take that most people aren't seeing right now, but I literally see a world where Islam's kind of like tit-for-tatting him. He's actually winning most of the exchanges. There's going to be moments that if it continues like this, JDM's going to have a little bit more moments. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but I do feel like for the most part, the early on in the exchanges, I do think Islam's actually going to be winning the tit for tat because JDM's going to be taking a lot more risk. Secondly, I want to point out Islam's head kick will be there with the takedown feints. Islam is very, let me do this all the time. Islam's always doing this move, and it always has people like reacting like a little bit, even if it's like a little nudge down like there. JDM, who kind of has this high guard, like I've noticed when you throw body kicks at JDM, he lowers one of his arms. He doesn't really lower both of them. He lowers one of them. Whatever angle you're going to throw from, like I said, Islam does have some underrated kicking arsenal. If he's kicking him in the body a couple times and he's feinting something or feinting a takedown or feinting a kick, it could lead to JDM doing one of these, which opens up a head kick opportunity for Islam. So I do want people to be wary of the head kick. I don't know if Islam can knock out JDM from a head kick, but I know it could hurt him and it could open up situations. So I do feel like the head kick for Islam and his kicking arsenal is going to be very slept on in this one, but it might lead to some significant moments, especially against Jack Della Maddalena, who does have that habit of lowering his guard depending on what body kicks coming or anything like that nature, especially against Bilal. Like Bilal would do a lot of body kicks, but would rarely go to the head, which I wondered why, probably because he just doesn't feel comfortable doing it. But that's something else to look out for. And lastly, I'm going to say, in the championship rounds, is going to favor JDM in the striking, no matter what happens. The reason I think this is because later in the fight, I've noticed Islam stands his base a lot more. Like he starts to move less. Like early on, he's a little bit more like, all right, chase me a little bit. I'm gonna move a lot. But later in the fight, he kind of folds into the low of like having a dog fight, and I think that's when JDM can shine. I don't think JDM's actually going to shine so much in the striking early on. I think it's more going to be a thing of as the fight progresses, JDM's going to shine more because Islam's going to be standing his base more, which leads to more opportunities for JDM to unload those combos that we're so worried about, and that's when it can kind of zap energy away from Islam, because I do think JDM's going to hit with a little bit more thudding power to a point where Islam's going to be like, okay, this guy's hitting a lot harder than other people I've faced. So I do think later on in the fight, it can favor JDM, but early on, I actually favor Islam, like the first 3 rounds for the tit and tat battle, as long as it keeps it standing. That being said, brother, this is not striking. This is MMA, man. So we got to also look at the grappling. Let's start with Jack Della Maddalena. His grappling pros. Scrambling is amazing. You know, I think his scrambling is the best thing about him. He's just very hard to hold down and keep down. Secondly, I want to say his BJJ is underrated as hell. Like, BJJ is not just like, oh, let me submit someone. It's like the amount of people who like use their BJJ understanding to create scrambles is probably why he scrambles so well. This includes going under the legs. It includes doing multiple things that could just open up situations for JDM to get off his back. Maybe even threaten some chokes to get Islam off him. Not even threatening like the chokes like he's going to complete it. Just do something to make Islam react to open up a scramble opportunity. I think JDM's underrated BJJ is going to open up a lot of opportunities like that. And then lastly, I said he defends double legs strongly sometimes. I've seen Gilbert Burns like drive a double leg and end up getting him down. But for the most part, JDM like does defend double legs pretty strong. Like I saw against Bilal, like if Bilal shoots, if you shoot a shitty takedown against JDM, brother, forget it. I've seen Islam shoot shitty takedowns too. Like he's a good wrestler, but I've seen him have his little bit of moments. If he shoots a shitty takedown, JDM's gonna stuff that shit. If he's like faking it, maybe Islam could drive a double leg, but for the most part, JDM's double leg takedown defense is actually pretty strong in my opinion. His is grappling cons though, because he has a couple. First off, he struggles against single legs. Gilbert Burns is winning a lot of the grappling. The reason Gilbert Burns was taking him down with ease is that he'll grab a single leg, he'll go for a trip, and then he'll force a scramble, and then sometimes Gilbert Burns will like win the scramble. Because Gilbert Burns, of course, has a good understanding of grappling. Obviously, his endurance is not Islam level, but how easy it seemed like he could take down JDM off a single leg was a little bit concerning. I was like, how is JDM getting taken down like this? You know, Bilal didn't really attempt a single leg. Bilal was only doing double legs or high crotches against the fence. He didn't really do much single legs. Islam is someone who mixes up single legs. I've seen Islam do single legs, double legs, takedowns against the fence, multiple things. Which brings me to my second narrative. He drops to his knees when he's defending against the fence. Like I've noticed that. JDM, like he does something. He does two things. He does either a judo throw, like you have you against the fence. He does like a little judo throw that like gets people off him. Or he like drops to his knees to defend. Against Bilal, he's doing a lot of, he's going to drop to his knees and defend the takedown against the fence. And that worked because Bilal's not really great at taking the back. But that like, it gives up the opportunity of potentially taking the back. Like if you drop to a knee when defending against the fence, someone could just fight for one hook in and it's just going to lead to a lot of problems. So I feel like dropping to your knee to defend and fight the hands isn't the best thing ever, especially against someone who's as good as grappling as Islam. So I don't think he should drop to the knees, bro. It's very negative. And then the last point, but the most significant point, is he gives up his neck when scrambling. JDM's one of those, I'm going to push off with my legs, then I'm going to scramble up and like give you my neck essentially just to get back to my feet. Dude, this is a horrible habit. Probably the worst habit you could have going against Islam. Voluntarily giving up your neck. Or like just to force a scramble, which is the problem with scrambling. With scrambling, a lot of times you have to give up something. The thing is, giving Islam something to work with is the problem here. Because if you start to give Islam like a neck to work with, Islam's going to capitalize on that a lot better than Bilal. You know, I feel like this is the reason this is highlighted in red. Out of all cons, this one I have to put in red because I can really see a world where Islam gets a Darce choke, man. And it's because he gives up his neck so voluntarily when scrambling. Because when you're scrambling, you usually have to take risks, which is why you see people like Ankle Ave sometimes just sit there when they're getting their fucking, you know, their fucking rib elbowed in. Yeah, he's injured. I don't care. But my point is, some people don't want to scramble because they don't want to give themselves like opportunity to get submitted. But JDM doesn't seem to care. Maybe there's gonna be something I'm gonna talk about later where I feel like JDM might end up doing. But overall, him giving up his neck when scrambling is a bad habit. Even though his best weapon is the scrambling, his best weapon is also his biggest detriment in a fight like this because the scrambling does leave openings from some chokes for Islam. Now let's go to Islam's pros. Great offensive wrestling everywhere. I don't like the misconception that he can't wrestle in the middle of the octagon. Yes, he has some nasty sweeps in the middle of the octagon. Look at the Armin Sarukian fight. Look at his fight with Dustin Poirier, where he didn't sweep him, but he threw him and won the scramble on the open leg off open mat wrestling. His wrestling is good everywhere. Of course, mostly the cage is where he prefers it because like against the fence, he has really good trips, even better over there. But I do think Islam can wrestle everywhere. Secondly, heavy hips on top, especially like in half guard. He will control JDM if he gets a half guard. He's very heavy hip-esque. Bilal did have JDM in half guard, and JDM literally just exploded up. He muscled, because Bilal doesn't really control with his hips. Bilal kind of like would be punching like this while he has you in side control, or not side control, half guard, and he doesn't really be controlling with his hips. Kind of controls more with like his chest because he has like short legs and like it just doesn't work against someone like JDM. So JDM was able to throw him off. You're not gonna just throw Islam off. Islam's like glue. Like even if you get some space, he's going to clamp back on you. And then lastly, not lastly, but yeah, 3 and 4 kind of go hand in hand. Submission threat is high, especially off scrambles. And then lastly, his scrambling is second to none. You can't really out-scramble Islam. And then also, if you do scramble against Islam, it's going to increase his submission threat that's already high. Islam's one of those people, he gets you down, he's actively always looking for a submission. So JDM was always actively looking to get up. Islam was always actively looking to get a submission, you know. It's going to be a clash of like, all right, you want to get up? Brother, I think Islam would actually bait him into like getting up so he could jump on a choke. I think that's what he did against Moicano, looking back at it. Because if you actually think about it, a lot of Islam's chokes do come from scrambles. If you look at a Dustin Poirier fight, he threw Dustin Poirier, jumped on him, won the scramble, choked him out. Moicano pushed him off. He jumps on Moicano, grabs the neck, Darce chokes him. A lot of his submissions actually do come from scrambles. So I do think that's a really bad thing for Jack Della Maddalena. Let's go to the cons of Islam and the grappling. Brother, cons, who give it? Brother, you guys thought I was going to say talk about Islam's cons? Bro, Islam has cons in grappling, brother. Don't be a little bit ugly guy. You know, brother. You know as much as I know. Don't do. But that actually brings me to my last one. My last point. How does the grappling play out? This is how I see it going. Islam will get JDM down. JDM will get up. That's gonna happen in this fight. Islam will score a takedown. JDM will score a get up. I will say this though: if Islam gets to half guard, he will control him. I know JDM's hard to control, and he fights the back pretty well. So I do want to preface that JDM does fight the back pretty well. But if Islam does have a good controlling position, I actually think it's going to be from half guard and him maybe even trying to switch this into full mount or trying to get into side control. I do think he's really heavy there because he has heavy hips. And I feel like JDM will give up his neck to Islam 100%, and it's up to Islam to react off that. There's no doubt in my mind where Islam will have his neck at a portion of the fight. It's just up to Islam to secure that choke. You know, I don't think Islam won't secure it because Islam's really smart with this. He has really good fight IQ. But it's all I know there's going to be a portion of this fight that Islam does have the neck of JDM. It says, can JDM fight out of it? Is JDM going to be green to this? Like, he's going to be understanding to this because he works with Craig Jones? What's going to happen? I'm sure JDM's going to have some defensive ability to get out of maybe a tight choke attempt. But then again, Islam squeezes so tight. So it's really tough to gauge for this grappling because I know JDM is going to give up the neck, but how is Islam going to be able to cope with this? Is he going to be able to actually get him out of there? Or is JDM going to be really good at defending and surprise a lot of people? So let's go to our next point, guys. This is just things I want people to note. This is things to note, things to write down, you know, before you come to this conclusion. Islam will likely be stronger than JDM. Despite him going up in weight, I do think him going to be at his fullest, strong. Just like Ilya was way stronger than Charles in some of the exchanges, even though Charles is pretty big. We've seen Charles is pretty strong. He looks strong against Gamrot, but Ilya went up. He looked a lot more full. I think Islam, the way he looks right now, he looks healthy, he looks strong. I'm like 99% sure he's going to be physically stronger than Jack Della Maddalena. Secondly, JDM will be the hardest puncher Islam has ever faced. So I'm saying this, and this is important to note because this could lead to Islam fatiguing. Islam getting punched in the stomach by like Dustin Poirier is a little bit different than JDM. I think JDM packs a little bit more of thudding power, which means that it could fatigue Islam in the long run. If Islam's not used to getting hit by thicker, bigger people, I know he's in training camp with like a lot of other bigger guys, but those bigger guys don't hit with thudding power as much as JDM, I would have to guess. And Islam his training partners other than Chanko kind of suck from what I've been seeing. So I do think this is going to be the hardest hitter that Islam's ever faced. But I also think this is going to be the best striker and the best grappler JDM has ever faced. Kevin Holland being the best striker beforehand, you know, maybe Gilbert Burns being the best grappler before. He just hasn't won against someone as good as Islam in the striking and the grappling, which is going to be something so new for Jack Della Maddalena. Someone who's going to be stronger than him physically. Someone who's going to be a better grappler than him. Someone who's going to be the best striker he's ever seen. It's going to be just a hard thing to solve for Jack Della Maddalena in this fight, and a lot of moving parts he's going to have to solve. Lastly, I want to note this, and this is the biggest thing I want to note. JDM may scramble less out of fear. Now, I'm saying this because, like I said about Islam, I think JDM understands that Islam's so good at finding submissions through scrambles. So I feel like it's going to lead to Islam racking up a lot of control time. Islam racks up a lot of CT here, man. Because I feel like if he does get into side control, or if he does get into a position where JDM is comfortable scrambling, JDM might like try to scramble, then see Islam like maneuver and like, oh, Islam has that covered. Let me chill a little bit, which actually going to lead to Islam having a lot more control time than usual. So we could actually see a situation here where JDM's scrambling less because he understands the threat of the submission. So he ends up stalling out like under Islam, where Islam's kind of just being active and like racking up control time, which might actually lead to a little bit more of a boring outcome on paper, but it's a possibility that I want people to understand. Islam could go in there and control JDM for a long portion of time, and JDM's not going to scramble as much as we're used to. It's going to lead to a lot of people be like, why was JDM not scrambling in that fight? Is it because it's literally because his fear of the submission? That's what I think could happen. So I want people to actually be aware of this, because this could be the case. JDM might not scramble. He might not take risks because he doesn't want to get choked. All right. That being said, how does the fight go for me? This is how I see it playing out. Islam utilizing his feints to likely outstrike JDM early. I'm talking about these, like this little motion, drawing out reactions, landing on JDM, doing things like that. Then next, I think Islam's going to score multiple takedowns, but JDM's going to get up a couple times. I said a couple times because sometimes, like I said, JDM might not get out. He might get stalled on the ground due to like, oh, I don't want to get taken down, a little bit fearful. But I do think Islam's going to score multiple takedowns. Third, I think JDM will spend a time or a round getting controlled. I do think it's going to be a round that JDM just kind of under Islam the whole time. I feel like that. I don't know what round, maybe early. I think like second round, maybe. Like JDM might be under Islam a lot, and Islam just actively going for submissions. This could lead to a finish, or this could lead to just Islam stalling him out and like maybe fatiguing himself for the championship rounds. Then that brings me to my last point. JDM will have moments if it's championship rounds. When rounds 4 and 5 come, JDM's gonna land on Islam. There's no secret about it. There's no like, oh, it might happen, it might not. It's gonna happen. JDM will land on Islam and will put it on Islam in championship rounds. Islam will take. I don't think Islam's gonna get finished by this, but it is gonna be a situation where Islam is gonna get put on him, especially if he's having moments where he was controlling JDM a lot and using a lot of energy trying to hold JDM down. But as for the conclusion, who do I think wins the fight? This is what I 100% think happens after like assessing so much film. I'm done watching film. This just pissed me off, dude. Too much film today, and just in general. I just have Islam via sub or points. I think Islam's going to sub him or Islam's going to beat him by points. That's it. No matter what way you slice the cake, I just think Islam's going to win. I'm not saying I don't see a world where JDM wins because I can see him waking up in the championship rounds. But overall, I don't think it's going to be enough to get it done against Islam. So I do think JDM's going to give it a good fight. He's going to give it a good go. But I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Islam Makhachev at the UFC 322. So my official pick is staying with Islam. Maybe your official pick stays too. But let me know what you guys think. I did this non-biasly, man. You guys could look at this and just take your own outcome from it. Because everything I said was true. It's just like, I think with everything I said, it's going to end up being Islam winning. But I could see other people be like, well, I see this, so I think it's going to be JDM. Either way, you know, everyone can have their opinion afterwards. I am going to go Islam via sub or points. Let me know what you guys think down below. That's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3.